The latest.
Sure. Well, listen, Dr. Drew, this new woman who's come forward, an adult as opposed to these teenage students, really adds a new wrinkle to this mystery of what might possibly connect all of the people who are suffering these symptoms. Take a look.
My parents lived
For the first time, an adult is coming forward and showing the same symptoms as a group of students in upstate New York. 36-year-old Marge Fitzsimmons says her physical and verbal tics began last October, around the same time as the teens. Just like them, she was diagnosed with conversion disorder, brought on by stress and, in her case, childhood trauma.
My doctor said, your stress tolerance level's here, your stress level's here, so everything that you've ever suppressed in your whole life has just erupted like a volcano.
But some experts, including a team led by environmental activist Aaron Brockovich, have suggested there may be an environmental link, focusing on the site of a 1970 train derailment that spilled over 30,000 gallons of the toxic chemical TCE. Marge said that crash site is close to a quarry and pond where she spent time as a teenager.
Yeah, we used to hang out in the quarry. We used to do what teenagers do when you get a group of them together.
This is the quarry where Marge Fitzsimmons tells us that she came as a teenager and would hang out. And other people in town have told us that they came here and would hang out as teenagers, and they might drink beer and party the way teenagers sometimes do. You can see over there the building that's part of the quarry and these giant stacks of rubble of different sizes. She tells me that they would sit on top of these very stacks while they were hanging out and partying at night. You can see how close they are to the crash site. That red container is where the train derailed in 1970. The site of the derailment is just a couple hundred yards straight down this way. The train tracks ran right along here. You can still see a few of the railroad ties left over, though they've removed most of the train track. Marge tells us that they would often come swimming at this pond right down here, very close to the crash site.
Do you have any thoughts on whether you think that site or any environmental type of condition may have contributed to what you're going through?
At this point, I have to have faith in my doctors. All the lab work and CAT scans and MRIs that I've had done have come back within range, within the normal range limits. So if it ends up being environmental, then does that mean that I don't have hope of getting better? You know, these are thoughts that go through my head.
So though she still believes that it's conversion disorder is what's behind this, she's keeping an open mind as these investigations go into an environmental possibility of an environmental cause. I noticed, Dr. Drew, that when we spoke about the possibility of there being an environmental cause, that's when her tic got the worst. It's definitely something that really concerns her because she fears that maybe that means there's been a permanent change to her physiology somehow. Dr. Drew?
Right, Jim. So let me reflect on what you've just said, which is that conversion disorders get better. Toxic injuries to the brain do not. So from a prognostic standpoint, it might be better if this all ends up being a conversion, at least for most of these kids and for this woman particularly. Jim, I have another question for you. What's your sense of the mood in the town and the community? They okay? They concerned? Everybody sort of looking forward to answers?
Yeah, I think people here really are looking forward to answers. There's a lot of people that are afraid that it's going to have an impact on business. We've heard people already talking about real estate being tough for people to sell homes since this has happened. They fear that they're going to be moving into some sort of toxic, grounds, and they're fearful it's going to have an impact on the economy. So they don't want anybody to panic or go overboard. But on the other hand, look, these are kids, We saw Marge's story today, but by and large, these are children, and they're children of the whole community, not just these families. So people do want the answers, and they're pretty shocked that 40 years after this derailment, this is still an ongoing issue. So they definitely want those answers, but without sort of inciting any kind of panic here, Dr. Drew.